Episode 142, My Trip to Bantam. This is where I tell a joke, but I can't think of a joke. Got fired from my job at the calendar factory. Yeah, I took too many days off. I think I used that one before, but that's all that could come to my dad's head. Hello and welcome to 10 Minute Off-Road Podcast. I'm your host, Nicky G. I'm here to entertain, delight, and soothe your ear holes. Boy, I messed that one up, and it didn't sound too good. Anyhow, I'm about to do all that crap for the next 10 minutes or so. Why 10 minutes? Because that's about how long I have until I am ready to go back to work. I'm pulling a vacuum on my Jeep, trying to get the AC worked out on it, and waiting to see if I got about another 10-15 minutes, and it'll be a half hour that it's been holding vacuum. We'll see if it still holds vacuum, and then we'll put some Freon in it, and hopefully I won't be sweating no longer. I almost said something bad. Alright, this week I want to talk about the Bantam Jeep Fest that I went to up in Butler, Pennsylvania. But before we get started, I got to go over all the legal boilerplate mumbo-jumbo. But I don't have to because I have enslaved AI interns, which are more like a pre-recorded message. So take it away, pre-recorded message, I guess.
You're listening to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast, the podcast for the off-roader with a short attention span.
You can follow the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, but never on TikTok. You can listen to the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast on whatever the hell you're listening to it on now, including Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, Spotify, Odyssey, Podbay, Podchaser, Pocket Cast, iHeartRadio, and on YouTube.
Got something to say? We would love to hear from you. Just contact the 10-Minute Off-Road Podcast at 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. That's 10minuteoffroad@gmail.com. Or leave a comment on our YouTube channel.
Alright, getting back on track. Last week I went to the Bantam Jeep Fest in Butler, Pennsylvania. If you're not familiar with it, Bantam is the birthplace of Jeep. I think Bantam came up with the design for Jeep but couldn't handle manufacturing. So the government took the contract or bought the design from Bantam and gave it to Willys and Ford to make for the war effort. I think Bantam even made a few Jeeps. But it was very interesting going up there. Local people consider Bantam, part of the Jeep heritage. And rightly so. There's a lot of people up there with Jeeps. The Bantam Jeep Fest is by far the biggest Jeep event I went to ever. Bigger than Toledo, bigger than the Smoky Mountain Jeep Invasion. Very well organized, I think. I had a good time. I took a couple of days off work. I meandered up there, spent a couple of days up there, and came back. And the good thing about the Bantam Jeep Fest, or the Bantam Heritage Jeep Festival, as they call it, that's a mouthful. I'm just going to refer to it as Bantam. The thing about Bantam, it's held in a field across the road from a great big campground called Cooper's Lake Campground. And so I stayed at Cooper Lake Campground, and I chose a group field. So I camped with about like 400 of my closest friends. This is for my first time. I don't say first time. I've done some group camping with the All-Wheel Drive Fest, but this is my first time on a scale that large. And with a lot of strangers. I didn't know anybody there. I was supposed to meet a friend there, but he didn't pan out. He didn't have his Jeep ready, and he didn't want to drive his truck, which I would have. Just drove it, camped out, go look at some Jeeps. But anyhow, I plan on doing it again next year, and I'm going to stay at the same campground. Although I did drive through the campground, and did I say it was huge, and picked out a better camping spots that I saw, and we'll see if the money's any different or any better, but it's, couldn't be too bad. I was in a field right on a big pond, and it was nice, but there was very little shade, and luckily it wasn't too hot. Matter of fact, it was pretty cold the one night. It rained during the day, and it cooled it off, and it was pretty chilly at night. The first night I got there, I had my fan running, and I was comfortable. I imagine if it could get hot, so I'm gonna stay in the shade. Like I said, there's a few camping, and it's all group. They have some like I'll say more private campsites where just one one group go or one family could fit into a spot. But a lot of it was just great big fields, and it was first come first served. They put like 500 people, or I'm exaggerating, but they put a bunch of people in a field, and you're there. You pack in as tight as you can, or spread out as far as you can without, and still have room for people. I will tell you, if you spread out quite a bit, chances are you're going to have somebody come in between you anyhow, because it filled up. But I digress. Back onto the Bantam Jeep Fest. Great. I had a lot of vendors there, and 90% of them were Jeep off-road overlanding related. They didn't have the big Jeep exhibit like Toledo has. They had an indoor area where they had some really nice show Jeeps, I guess from the Bantam factory or whatever factory that was. They had like some old 30 era gangster cars. It looked pretty cool. And then they had a tent city set up that looked just like the set of MASH with the old army tents and stuff. And they even had some people hanging out, talking to other people about it that were in period World War II, Korean War uniforms. And that was very interesting. They had an obstacle course where you could drive your Jeep through this obstacle course, had mud pit, tires, had a teeter-totter thing, and people were just driving through that all day long. They had trail rides set up at a local quarry. They had some like Jeeping 101 classes and stuff also held at the quarry, which I didn't attend any of that because I drove my 97 XJ, that's kind of stock, and I didn't want to risk tearing it up because I still had to drive it home. If I ever trail or something, I'll do all that. The town of Butler, Pennsylvania, on I believe it was Friday night, they closed the town down, blocked off a bunch of streets in the city. And when I say city, it's a small town, but they only let you in if you had a Jeep. So there was thousands. I believe somebody said there was about 2,400 Jeeps lining all the cities and walking around downtown and visiting all the businesses down there. And it was a great time. It was something to see. There was a parade to and from downtown. It wasn't more of a parade. It was just 2,400 Jeeps lined up to leave. And then on Sunday, which I didn't attend to it, they had a Barbie Jeep race. They had a pretty steep hill there, and so they raced Barbie Jeeps down the hill. I didn't stick around for that. I had family I had to see in Ohio on Saturday night, so I got there Thursday, hung out Thursday, Friday, and left Saturday morning. If you ever have the opportunity to go to the Bantam Heritage Jeep Festival, I recommend it. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. On the way up to Bantam, West Virginia, I took a little side trip down a road to go to Thurman, West Virginia, which was a little railroad town that was kind of abandoned when the railroad switched from steam locomotives from steam to diesel. There was a little town set up so the locomotives can load up on coal and water and start their trek. It was the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad, the C&O Railroad. If you ever had a model train, you probably saw the CO railroads. And I believe now it's just called the Chessie system. Not too sure, but anyhow, old abandoned town. All the old buildings were there. The coal tower to service the trains was still there. The water tank, I think they tore down and used for scrap, but you can still see the footprint of it. The hotel they had there burned down, but there's still the train station is there, bank, a couple of other businesses. They're all abandoned. You can walk around, see old abandoned buildings. The Park Services owns it now, and they're planning to restore it and make it a living museum. It's kind of a living museum now. To get there, you got to cross the New River on this sketchy one-lane bridge that is shared with a railroad. So you have a railroad tracks literally about 3 feet from you, and then you have just enough room to fit a nice big SUV on it. I had my Cherokee and pulling a trailer, and I had enough room, but I was kind of frightful on it. It was squeaky, kind of on the janky side. Alright, so I rambled on long enough. Until next time, this is Nicky G saying wheel what you got and be happy.